Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 163rd Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Just to say, this battle was fought approximately 6 months ago. The team I'm in today consists of Brotherhood member Sacred. He's called himself And Bang. As some of you know, sometimes when cavalry charge into the enemy, I sometimes say bang. So he's actually called himself And Bang as a bit of a joke. But it is Brotherhood member Sacred, and he has bought the Pontus faction. Then we have myself, Spartan Commander, who's bought the Rome SBQR faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Lion Dwarf, who has bought the Rome Julio faction. And then we have Brotherhood member Conan, who has bought the Rome SBQR faction. As some of you know, Conan was the co-founder of the Brotherhood all the way back in January 2005, and the foundations that him and Conan set all those years ago have made Brotherhood so strong. Great team, should be interesting to see what happens. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at Brotherhood member Sacred's Pontus army. Now, straight away, if you notice that in this particular army, he hasn't bought heavy chariots. What he's done, he's bought heavy cavalry. Those regular viewers of our battle videos will have seen, I think, the video before last, we saw how chariots run amok and killed both friend and foe alike. So Sacred obviously decided to bring cavalry instead of the chariots today. So it could be a good move by him there. And then we have 10 Pontus pikemen there. Pontus pikes are extremely long, and as we've spoken about in other battle videos, obviously with the length of those pikes, the enemy have to fight down those pikes to get to the man on the other end. So Pontus is kind of a bit of an underestimated faction, I think, in some ways. Good pikeman there. And then he's bought, I see he's bought 4 archers, just 4 foot archers there. Be interesting to see how he uses them. They haven't got very long range, and they're not really that powerful. And also he's bought 2 chariot archers here. As you can see, there's 3-man chariots there. No scythes on the wheels or anything like that. They're just purely fast moving archer units. They can do a lot of damage and get away from enemy cavalry very quickly. So it'll be interesting to see how this Pontus army does. At this stage of the battle, I thought we'd have a look at Brotherhood member Conan's army here. If you look, Conan's only bought 11 infantry, which is a low amount of infantry for the modern day battlefield, and he's bought 4 archer units. Also, you might notice that if you look closely at the infantry, you can see he's only bought 11 infantry, but if you notice, they got 7 upgrades on each. And what that would be, gold, and a stripe, experience stripe on them as well. Plus he's got 4 archer units, and he's got the old school cavalry general. Do you remember we've spoken about this on other battle videos up to about 7 or 8 years ago? Bringing the Roman armored general was a normal thing to do. So bringing that back now is, like I say, is a bit of old school there. And also I noticed he's got 4 cavalry as well. So it should be interesting to see how this army does. Also, before the battle starts, I thought we'd have a look at Brotherhood member Lion Dwarf's formation here. An unusual formation. As you can see, he's got 15 infantry and 5 cavalry. You might be looking to see where is the pilot shield unit. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when we actually get into combat. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Gladius, who has bought the Greek cities faction there. I think, looking at it, he's got approximately 14 Spartan units, and I think he's got 5 or 6 archer units there. So that should be interesting to see how well they do. And then we have NOS Indy, who has bought the Rome Brutio faction. Then we have NOS Hannibal Barker, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. And then we have King's member Talos, who has bought the Rome Brutio faction. So there you go, a really good team. It should be an interesting battle for you to watch. Here at the very early stage of the battle, you can see the Pontus chariot archers there have moved out to the right with a view of trying to probably hit enemy infantry that are moving there, but they've been chased off to the right flank. If you notice here that there is a Scipii armoured general unit coming in there. They're, as I said before, they're fast moving, those armoured units, cavalry armoured units there, and obviously he's going for the Pontus foot archers. If you notice here though, I'd like to show you, I think it's quite a nice tactic by Brotherhood member Sacred here. If you notice it, that armoured unit, Roman armoured unit there, is obviously chasing, trying to chase the archers down there. And also he's trying to chase away the chariot archers as well. But if you notice that Sacred's archers there are running further and further back towards the long grass area. Can you see that dark area at the back, the long grass area? And of course that's a perfect place to hide units. And if you notice that the Roman cavalry general unit still, well, the general unit there is still charging forward, and then all of a sudden, can you see out of the long grass comes the Pontic heavy cavalry there. So what Sacred was doing is running that archer unit back, drawing that cavalry unit deeper and deeper towards his hidden units, and then surprise them with, if you like, that ambush from the long grass. Nice little tactic that. New players watching this, when you play on this map or wooded areas, you can actually spring ambushes on the enemy like that. Okay, we're going to move over to the left flank now. Just like to say once again, this is a very early stage of the battle. We haven't really even formed up yet. As you can see, Conan has moved out to the far left there, probably with a view to maybe flank the enemy Brutii infantry in front of him. If you notice, the Greek city's ally is sending over some Spartan units there to kind of strengthen his Brutii allies' army there. If you notice, Conan's running his general around there, that general unit, hoping to attract piler shots being thrown at him. If he keeps moving that fast, most of the pilers will miss, but the Brutii infantry will use a lot of their pilers there, and to no avail really. If you notice, we're all shifting over to the left now, or heading towards Conan on the left flank. If you notice here, the enemy Brutii army and my SBQR army are almost running into together. Our trajectory, if you like, if we'd have kept moving, would have been just to kind of, if you like, run into each other there. If I remember right, this game was a little bit glitchy, so you may well see some units glitch in this game. Right, you see, if you look over on the far left there, you can see that Conan is taking his army on a flanking action around the flank of the enemy Brutii army there. If you notice that Pontus, my ally here, is moving out to the right flank at the same time, obviously with a view to really do a wide flanking action there against the enemy on our right. Right, just like to draw your attention to this. Can you see that the Greek city's general has had a massive glitch where all his units have split up and are running all over the place? Now what I'd like to draw your attention to is, can you see that Conan has put his units into testudo? Now by putting his units into testudo, they will do the least harm to that glitched army. That's a move that the Brotherhood often try and do when an army is glitched. So he's done everything he can. He's just put his units into testudo, so they will do the smallest damage to that glitched Greek city's army there. Everybody watching this, we've all had glitched armies from time to time, and it's such a nuisance. But when the enemy actually does something like this to get minimum kills when your army glitched, I think that's a great thing to do. That's a great example there by Conan. Meanwhile, over on our right flank here, you can see that I'm charging my SBQR infantry into the side of that Brutii infantry there. At the same time, my allies Pontus pikes are advancing into the Brutii army. If you notice, I'm moving my infantry over to try and cut off the Brutii army there from its allies. You see how I move my SBQ army there, just trying to cut it off from its allies there, as my Pontus teammate is moving forward with his pikes. As I say, when you're on the battlefield, if you can see tactical moves like that where you can cut off an enemy, that's a great thing to be able to do if you can do that. And remember, with these big 120 pike units like Pontus and Seleucid, they've got so many numbers that they can actually cause the enemy units, individual enemy units, to be frightened of their numbers. It can cause a morale drop as well. So the sheer numbers of pikemen there can actually, I think the Roman units usually say distraught at the number of enemy troops when their morale is starting to lower there. So there's a lot of infantry with that Pontus army there. Meanwhile, over on our left, you can see that that glitch that happened is now stopped, and the battle is continuing there. As you can see, Leyendorf has got his infantry in that formation there against the Greek cities. And meanwhile, over on our right here, you can see that the Pontus pikemen are moving forward. As I said before in other battle videos, I always think that big, dense pike formations moving forward reminds me of a steamroller. Very, very slow moving forward, but they tend to kind of go over everything in front of them, but in a very slow fashion there. Meanwhile, over on our left here, you can see the Greek cities. They are still facing our allies, Leyendorf's Julii army there. As you can see, Sacred now is moving his Pontus units forward there to engage those enemy Brutii troops who are now in Testudo. Remember, that is a standard defence. What most Roman generals use when facing pike units is to move into Testudo. There's a close-up of the Testudo there, and as you can see, the pike units moving forward to engage them there. Okay, let's just pause the game here for us to take stock of the situation. As you can see here on the right with the Pontus, as we just said, pikes moving forward. He's got his archers and chariot archers in behind those Brutii infantry, so he's probably firing arrows into the rear of those Testudos. As you can see, my army is facing the enemy Scipii army, and lots of cavalry there facing my army as well as 3 Greek cities units as well there. Meanwhile, over on our left centre here, you can see that our allies' Julii units are facing the Greek cities here, and if you notice that the Greek cities general is moving units out to the left of Leyendorf there, probably with a view to a flank attack. If you notice that Conan still got his infantry in Testudo there, facing the enemy Brutii infantry and army there. So there's a general overview of the battle. Be interesting to see what happens next. Okay, you can see here that our Pontus ally is still moving forward, engaging those Brutii Testudo Roman infantry there. But if you notice that the enemy Scipii troops have moved forward towards my enemy, towards my SBQR army there, and he's put his cavalry close up behind his infantry. It wouldn't surprise me if he actually fully attacked my my army there. If you notice that the Brutii cavalry has moved out to my left, possibly with a view to charge into the flank of my SBQR infantry there. So I've moved my cavalry out there with a view to try and counter that attack. If you notice the Greek cities, those 3 Greek cities units have moved over to the left as well. But if you notice now that enemy Brutii cavalry have moved in to attack my ally over in the left centre. If you notice those 3 Greek cities units have now ran to try and intercept my cavalry to stop them going over to help my ally there. If you notice that the enemy Scipii cavalry in front of my infantry is moving over towards his ally and then decides to stop. So he's still got all his cavalry facing my infantry. If you notice, I've taken my SBQR infantry over to the left centre to try and help my ally. Right, now right in front of me now, you can see the enemy Scipii infantry are aggressively attacking my army. Let's pause the game here for us to take stock of the situation. As you can see, I say here on the right flank, our Pontus ally is gradually taking out the Brutii Roman infantry there. Here in our right centre, you can see the enemy Scipii army is aggressively attacking my SPQR army there, and have got 5 cavalry out there ready to charge in when ready. Meanwhile, over here on the left, you can see that I've charged my SPQR cavalry over to try and help my ally when I saw the Brutii cavalry attacking them. You've also got Greek cities units thrown into the mix over here as well. I don't want to tangle with pike units with my cavalry. You can see that Conan is facing the enemy Brutii here over on the left. So there's a general overview of the battle. If you notice, Conan's taking his cavalry out to the left, probably with a view to charge in when he's engaged their infantry. Okay, let's see what happens next here. As I said here, you can see the a lot of the enemy Brutii here starting to rout by our Pontus ally. But here in the right centre, you can see the enemy Scipii cavalry are charging into my infantry, and his infantry are charging in as well. And as that cavalry hits, and bang! As that cavalry hits into my infantry. Now my infantry units here, several units I've got stripes on them for the experience. Gives them that experience, that battle experience with a stripe on. Now what will happen, I would think that a lot of my just gold infantry, that's gold defence, gold attack, will rout with that massive attack, but the striped units I'm hoping will hold here. Right, you can see the enemy Brutii cavalry now are charging in from my left. If you notice that the Scipii cavalry have charged right through my formation, have come out the back as well. And as the Brutii cavalry hits, and that is a massive impact, bang, as that goes in. So my infantry now are being smashed by a massive infantry attack at the front, cavalry coming in from the flank. The Scipii cavalry have just charged right through my formation and have now come into the back. Right, can you see my cavalry starting to, my infantry starting to rout there? Okay, let's pause the game to take stock of what's actually happening here. As you can see, I've got Brutii cavalry, a full attack by Scipii cavalry and infantry, and my units are starting to rout. You notice my ally, my Pontus ally, has seen the danger and is charging some reinforcements, and also I've got my cavalry charging in as well. Meanwhile, over on the left flank here, you can see that our Julii ally is still engaged with the Greek cities units there. And you can see that Conan is engaged with the Brutii army over there. But if you've noticed, he's moved his cavalry out to the left. My guess is he'll smash that cavalry in there and probably cause a lot of the enemy to rout when he does that. So there's a full overview picture of the battle. And as you can see, Pontus has got his archers, both foot archers and chariot archers, in behind the attacking Scipii infantry. So they're going to be having loads of arrows going into the back of them as they charge forward. But as you can see a lot of my SPQR units starting to rout there. As you can see, I'm bringing my cavalry in to try and help my beleaguered infantry. As I say, most of my gold infantry would have probably routed after that pummeling by the enemy, but my troops with the stripes on will still hold, I'm hoping. As you can see, my cavalry just charged in there just to try and relieve a bit of, as I said, a bit of aggression off of my infantry there. As you can see, my Pontus ally is starting to move in now to help me out. His pikemen are moving forward. As I say, his archers will be shooting arrows into the enemy Scipii infantry there. If you look now, you can see that there's very few of my units left, army units left there. I've still got a little bit of cavalry left, but not a lot of infantry units left, as that Scipii army still aggressively attacks my my troops there. Right, if you notice, I'm going to charge my cavalry in. All my cavalry are now very battle damaged, but I'm going to charge them in there, because if you notice, the Scipii army have kind of, if you like, blobbed. And what we mean by blobbed is they've gone into like a big mass. And when they go into a big mass like that, they're very susceptible to cavalry hits. So that's why I saw that and charged my cavalry in. But if you notice, I charged in, did the damage I wanted to do, and charged back out. Got the full cavalry charge bonus, and then did what I wanted to and pulled back. If you notice that some of my infantry units have rallied, I'm charging them in as well as my Pontus ally is charging in at the same time into the flank of that enemy Scipii army there. Right, I'm now charging my cavalry in again with a view to trying to get that Scipio general. If you notice, the Scipio general is fighting there. I've charged my cavalry in because remember, if we can kill the enemy general, then their morale of the rest of the troops will drop. So that's what I've aimed for there. If you notice there, the Scipio general's morale, is just routed there. The general has, so the morale of his troops will drop.
The enemy general is running away. This is no way for a leader to be.
Meanwhile, over on our left flank, between them, Lyondorf and Conan has managed to rout the enemy Brutio forces that were over there. I think there's just a few Greek city units left over on our left and left centre there. The Greek cities are always a challenge there with their 2 hit points on those Spartans. Meanwhile, over here on our right and right centre, we've my Pontus ally Sacred and myself have managed to hold off that really aggressive, full-fledged attack on my army there. We're just going to pause the game here to take stock of the situation. As you can see, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 infantry units. Is it 5 or 6 infantry units left? All extremely battle damaged, but those units that are left I can almost guarantee will be the ones with the stripes on. As you can see, I've still got some cavalry left, although they're very battle damaged as well. And meanwhile, over on the left, as I say, Conan and Lyondorf did extremely well on the left there to rout the enemy Brutii infantry and to deal with the Greek cities army over there as well. So really well done to them. And it looks like our team has managed to go on to win the battle there. As you can see, there's still a lot of the Pontus units left. So Sacred played Pontus, I thought, extremely well there. Bearing in mind Sacred doesn't play a lot now, I thought that the way that he handled the Pontus faction there was extremely good.
This is a heroic victory.
As you can see, it was a very wide battle area there from one flank to the other. And you can see the dead, so you can tell how intense the battle was in various places there. Just like to say, really well played to everybody in the game. Just like to draw your attention to Pontus and Bang, as it is, but his Brotherhood member Sacred there. If you notice, he's still got 921 troops left there, and his kill is 1312, so it's very good for Pontus there. Just like to say, really well played to everybody in the game. I thought the other team played extremely well. Lots of aggressive attacking moves there by the other team, so really well played to them. And really well played to the team I was in. I thought Lyondorf and Conan on the left flank and left centre over there did extremely well to fight off the Greek cities and the Brutii army. And really well done, as I said, to Sacred with his Pontus army there. I thought you handled them very well there. So really well played to everybody in the game. I hope you enjoyed watching the battle. I thought it was unusual showing Pontus once again. It just goes to show that some of these lesser factions can still do good on the 31k battlefield. It's Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the battle, and bye for now.